All right, good afternoon. This is Matt Mahoney. I am the CEO of MKM Security Solutions Podcast. And today we have an amazing guy, amazing company. I've been trying to get him for weeks. His name is Fidel Taylor. He is the president and CEO of Covenant Protection Group. So welcome to the show. How you doing, Fidel?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me and
Awesome.
reaching out. I appreciate it.
Outstanding. Now listen, so tell our audience who you are and where you come from, what you're doing.
Yeah. What am I doing? My God, I don't even know where to start with that. So yeah, as you said, I'm the president CEO of Covenant Protection Group. We just got formed last year. I have been in the current security executive protection space since 2012-ish is when I started there. Prior to that, I did 10 years in law enforcement in the Bay Area. Unfortunately for me, I was injured in line of duty and got medically retired. My agency was the first to the municipality filing bankruptcy in federal court. So that led to the medical retirement after a 3-year hiatus, dealing with medical surgeries, rehab, etc. Then is when I joined the private sector in 2011, which has evolved me to where I'm at currently. Simultaneously, since 2011, I've been in the security space, to include, the executive protection, residential security, security driving, all the different facets of a world that I had
Great.
no idea existed come 2011.
I love it.
Simultaneously, I've also operated my training business. So those have been running parallel to each other essentially since 2011, 2012, full steam.
Nice training. I tell you that there's nothing all need more is training, right? I mean, we never have enough time. We never got the funding. It's always a challenge.
It is. Training for me has always been something that I've enjoyed, whether it's back in my military days, law enforcement, security, and so forth. But where it really hits home is when, the city I worked for in the Bay Area, it's a very well-known violent city. You're going
Mm.
to be pressure tested on your skill set and what you think you possess, where you think you are, et cetera. When you see the training failures, the good, the bad, and the successes as well. So knowing that you're in that type of work, being a protector, whether you're a police officer or an executive protection agent or a dad or a mom carrying a CCW, all those avenues of protection. When you see the failures and you see your teammates go down in the line of duty, to include being killed in the line of duty,
Right.
it really hits home as to how
Totally.
important that training is.
That's right. We all take it for granted. We all want to get in and out of the academies or the training as soon as possible, get on the street. But you're right. If you're not ready, you're not going to be prepared. And we need to be prepared 24/7 in our career.
100%. 100%. I think my, one and two of my favorite positions while in law enforcement was being a field training officer. And that's training those new officers. They come out of the academy or they come from different departments, and you got to teach them,
Right.
first, hey, how do we do things? How do we do cop things? Forms and documents and contacts and all that good stuff. But even if you get an experienced police officer that laterals over to your agency, there's not many agencies that were like mine. I'm very proud of where I worked and where I came from. We had a great reputation while I was there, and before me and after and so forth. But when I would go to trainings throughout the state, and other officers, deputies, et cetera, would learn that you're from that department, they always had so many questions, whatever. So it was a great honor to work there and be a training officer, to train the new officers coming in, how to do the job and how to survive.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, every agency's got their own training, their own rep, their own, it all depends on the jurisdiction of where it is too. Some people are in the mountains, some people are in the valleys or the Indian reservations. It's all different. We gotta train for where we're at, especially with the executive protection. Not all of us are law enforcement officers coming over to the EP world. And so training is key. A lot of it is generic, but a lot of it is not. So a lot of these cops, are not ready to do it. Some are. It just depends.
Yeah, I had lateraled to the police department from a sheriff's department, and I recall my training officer at the PD telling me I was trying to maneuver my patrol vehicle through the alleys and streets and stuff like that. And I was trying to get around and outflank this guy that was on the streets, and he was walking and so forth. And I thought I was outsmarting him. And as I came around this corner where I had expected to see him down the alley, he was nowhere to be seen. And then I'm driving around and I couldn't find him. And I look over at my training officer, and he's slouched in the passenger seat, and he's just like shaking his head. He's like, "Bro, your country bumpkin tactics aren't going to work here in the city. You better learn real quick. And it was a wake up call, that the tactics that I had learned for the county and the sheriff's department were not going to
Right.
play over into a urban.
Just that's right. Different zone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Different
So you got
zone.
to
You
evolve.
gotta know. That's right. I love it. He's like, "Hey, rookie, come on."
He was just shaking his head.
We've all been there and enjoyed it. It's just hilarious. So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
so awesome. So executive protection, what else are you doing?
Yeah, so now that I'm currently working full time for a family office in the Bay Area. It's a fairly
Nice.
new detail, so I'm helping getting that going and off the ground.
24/7, or is it just, during the day?
Yeah, it's 24/7. Yeah, yeah, it's 24/7. We're pretty much doing a hybrid position. So
All right.
we're getting the team built up and to where the client, the family is comfortable with the team members. The team members have the experience and the background and so forth to fulfill what the family needs. So we're going through those growing pains a little bit, but we're getting it ironed out. And the family is still learning of, what do they think they need versus what do they need? What does it feel like? What does it look like? And so every new detail goes through this. So I've told the client and the missus right up front, hey, do not be afraid to experiment, try. I'll make suggestions. We'll try it for a week or two. You may like it, you may not like it. We're always
Right.
fine tuning. So please, you got to give me that feedback. They've got children are in the mix and staff and so forth.
Sure.
I just
Communication
had
is
a
key.
100%. And I told her, "You're not gonna hurt our feelings. We're not here for that. Every detail is different, regardless of the background I bring to the table. This detail will be a little different." For example, a couple months down the road, we may hire another person who comes into the team who may have a good deal of experience, and that's a good baseline for that protector. But then we have to fine tune it to, "Hey, how does this family want things done?"
Right.
Whether you're walking and escorting them or driving them. Yeah, I'll tell you for the driving aspect, this client has definitely been a bit of a challenge because they have some certain fears that come from childhood.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get all the agents up to speed real quick as to what those are and how to mitigate that. So it goes into our route planning and what routes do we take and not take. Um,
Right.
so that type of stuff.
Customized to the client.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. I've done a bunch of EP driving positions. I just, pick people up at the airport, bring them into DC for their meetings with the White House or wherever,
Yeah.
hotels, and then bringing them back to the airports. But just the driving is important because they have no patience. They're just like, hey, run this red light or whatever. I got a meeting to go to. I'm like, hold on a second. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, right? And you can't just do that. But it's a balance, right? Because they're like, hey, come on, and we gotta go. I'm like, yeah, we're
Yeah,
willing.
100%. You gotta know your client and what they like and what their comfort levels are, and you gotta learn that real quick. I tell the other agents, "Hey, if you hear a comment or you get feedback, that information is critical. We gotta share that with the other team members as quickly as possible so that it's as if that agent's known that all this time, so that one agent it's not the agent's making a mistake, right? And people will look at it that way. It's just different. So there's the right way to do things, there's the wrong way to do things, and then there's different ways to do things. And the different way is just what the client wants and fine tuning it to their likes and their preferences and what that is. And then that information's got to be shared amongst the team ASAP.
Right. Yep. Like again, it's communication, it's getting along with your client, because sometimes they just have outrageous demands, but they just don't know that you're putting us at risk with those with those, so we have to, you got to walk that line and say, hey, listen, that's really not good for security and privacy. We're here for a reason, right? To keep you safe. We're going to get you there. So let's see if we can do at least, have a balance or whatever. So, or an alternative to whatever they want to do. But it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's enjoyable. I enjoy it. This is something that, if you probably had asked me, 15 years ago, I would have had no idea what this is and what it's like and so forth. But, the last 13, 14 years that I've been in this industry, learning, definitely I'm my best teacher because I'm very critical on myself and I'm always assessing how I do things, getting on myself and the things that I've learned, whether it's in training or, going away to other EP schools and so forth, or just learning on the job, right? Those
Right.
lessons, they really stick with me. And then trying to pass those on to other agents as well.
So are you doing a specific EP training for your firm, or do you send them somewhere?
Currently, so my company is brand new. For the most part, we're about 5, 6 months old. I do have a couple details that are in progress that are going on. They're being staffed currently. And those are all with experienced agents that are out there in the field, people that I know directly, people that I've worked with that I brought in to work these details. Because of my training background, and then I also feel the experience background, I am in the process of with my company developing our training arm so that we can be training agents directly in Northern California throughout the Bay Area. That is the epicenter
Beautiful.
of the exec protection industry.
Uh-huh.
But also, I've done training for other teams in Texas, in a couple different cities in Texas, done some training recently in Tennessee, Southern California, and so forth. Built a little bit of a name for myself, hopefully, out there about the level of service that I provide and the training and back it with
Right.
the experience. So that in a few months here, what we're in the beginning of March 2026, um, that I will have my own facility where other companies know that they can send their agents, whether they're new, intermediate level, and potentially even advanced level, to come in and get some good hands-on training and really elevate the standards overall for our industry. Because that's one of the biggest issues I see in our industry today.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I guess you being in the Northern California Bay Area, that's kind of where most of the high tech CEOs are at, right?
Yeah, so you got the CEOs for all the corporations, companies out there. You've got the tech folks. You've got the high net worth. That's the tech billionaires that have become billionaires overnight. They develop an app and then they sell it off, or whatever. So
Right.
those they're definitely a different breed than some of the clients. Most of the clients that you'll have, say, in Southern California, where they're more the celebrities and that type,
Right.
and
The
that's a
Golden Lake crowd.
different
Yeah.
type.
Hollywood crowd.
Yeah, so if you're up here in Northern California, and let's say you've been doing executive protection work for 3, 4, 5 years, and that's all you've done, and I put you with a celebrity client, you're gonna be you're gonna feel like
Different world. Totally
you're gonna be
different
like,
client, right?
"Whoa, wait a minute," and it goes right back to me using my country bumpkin tactics from the sheriff's department over with the police department in an urban city. It's a different animal, so whether you're with a celebrity client, or I also have a political client that I work directly with for a little over a year now. They're different than the celebrity folks, which are different than the high net worth folks versus the
Hmm.
corporate executive folks.
Yeah, I would think the CEO type are more, laid back and not really doing much in their personal. I don't know. I mean, depends, right? I mean, I've only done tech CEOs. I've never done any high, survey, Hollywood types. So how do you think the Hollywood types are different?
Well, they're much more demanding.
Right.
And with the Hollywood types, the one thing that comes along with them are the entourages, and that is
Right.
where a lot of your problem children are going to be. So boundaries have to be set right away. I mean, I've had a 3 vehicle SUV caravan convoy set up, parked, and then have an entourage member come out and jump in the vehicle and tell the driver, "Hey, take me to, X." Meanwhile, we're standing
Yeah.
by for our principal there. And it's like,
Yeah.
and
No,
then
dude. No.
yeah, and then the
Not an
driver's
Uber.
radioing me and saying, "Hey, so and so's here, and they want me to take them to, whatever." And I'm like, "No, negative, negative." It's not happening. They think we're just an Uber, or something like that.
Right. Well, now it becomes not just a one primary person. Now you're talking about a group of be 8 to 10 people.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
Way
dealt with.
bigger, way bigger variables going
Yeah,
on there with that, and vehicles, and I mean, that's a lot more manpower.
yeah. It's a lot more coordination, a lot more logistics. But again, those boundaries and those rules have to be set. Luckily, the celebrity ones I've had, and people know a couple of the celebrities I've been with. One of them is very well known in the industry as being high maintenance, very hard to handle. I'm proud to say that he was for several years trying to recruit me down south to be his full time guy, and
Yeah.
it just moving down south wasn't in.
Does he go through companies like every month?
Not necessarily companies. I mean, yeah, they have racked up companies, but definitely agents. And the sad thing is, thinking about that one celebrity client there, they've gone through certain agents, several agents that are good quality agents that are respected in the industry and so forth. But because that client was having a bad day or there was a miscommunication on what to do when a guest arrived or something like that, and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
that
he's out.
agent is boom gone.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to see that guy ever again. He
Yeah,
whatever he did, it was probably minor, but these people are just like, they don't care. They're like,
yeah.
next
Well,
person, give me someone else.
yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. That same client, I literally fired 3 drivers and had to replace in 1 day, and so
He
what
didn't like the way
happens.
they made left turns or something like that.
Well, yeah, there's a variety of things, but what happens, and the client doesn't know or see this, but their reputation as a client gets out there in our world, and our world is pretty
Mhm.
small.
Right,
So then good agents who have opportunities and their phone is ringing and they're being requested for work because they developed a good reputation in the industry, everybody knows about that detail, right? And so then the good agents will be like, "Yeah, no, I don't got time for that." And they'll avoid it. So now that client is only going to get mid-tier to lower tier agents who are trying to figure it out, or they've been let go from other companies and they're kind of desperate and don't have those opportunities, or newer
right.
agents who are coming into the world who don't know any better, and they're going to learn real quick. But unfortunately, clients develop reputations as well.
Right, that's right. The reps are everywhere, right? On the client side and the protection side. They gotta gel, and hopefully they don't know each other, or unless they do and they want each other. So being up in the Bay Area, do you have anything to do with the Super Bowl recently?
Yeah, I did. I was fortunate enough to be brought in on for a team, to
Awesome.
where, yeah, where we were there for 6 days supporting members that were involved directly with the Super Bowl.
That had
Had
to be a
had
security
field
nightmare.
access to be able to go out there, every day to watch the development of the stadium and all that's happening behind the scenes. It's a busy beehive.
Right.
Saturday, I started my shift at 07 Saturday morning. I got off Sunday night at, right about 9:30, 10 o'clock, something like that. So I was up for roughly 9, 40 hours straight.
Wow.
But Sunday morning, when we walked over to the stadium, we walked in there 6 a.m. 6 a.m. I was standing on the turf right by the end zone of the
Nice.
Seahawks end. And,
Oh,
we
so
all,
you working inside the building
yes, I was
or
inside the
whatever?
stadium, supporting
Very cool.
protectees that were involved directly with the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So to
mean,
watch,
can you imagine how many clients attended that? I mean, it's probably the biggest event in the world to go to. So how many EP squads are rolling in and out of there just for the game?
yeah, yeah. I
Gotta be
mean,
hundreds.
yeah, hundreds. We were getting requests, I was getting requests to help staff details literally the morning of. And, I just
Yeah.
told them right away because I'd already been trying to help several people that I know in the industry and companies for several days up to the event. And we were desperate. We couldn't even get enough bodies to staff, Friday events and Saturday because there's parties going on constantly. And
Totally.
then, all these clients that are coming into the Bay Area, they all got their private jets out there at the FBO. And of course,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where they're in that circle that they run in, and now they got to go to all these different venues and they got to be seen, they got to show face, they got to shake hands and do the bro
It's
hugs
all
and all
about
that
it.
good
Yeah,
stuff.
that's right.
And, you may do literally and this was what was happening to us on Saturday, where we're driving and we're in traffic for 45 minutes to go do a 5-minute hit
2
piece
miles.
and show presentation and show face. And then boom, they go jump in the vehicle and then we're off to the next location, and it's a 30 to 35-minute drive, but yeah, you're only, you're only going like 2 miles. Uh,
Yeah.
Sometimes it might have been, more expeditious to jump on those electric scooters.
Well, you guys are probably, cross intermingling your teams all the time. Here comes another, we're all coming to the same party, we're all coming to the same meeting, and now all you guys are all standing around, mixing because you're all on the same squads.
Yeah,
It's got to be a lot of
100%.
coordination.
Yeah, absolutely. There were numerous times where I saw other agents and some agents from out of state that I hadn't seen since last year. You know, one time I'm in the vehicle and I was driving, I had the client in there and they were kind of coordinating with some other people. And I saw a security director walk by that I supported last year on an event for his client, and I snapped
Yeah.
a picture real quick and I sent it to him, and I said, "Hey, bro, how you doing?"
Oh,
And then
yeah.
he saw it about 20 minutes later, and he wanted to hook up, but I was with my client, and so I
Yeah.
couldn't, you know.
You do it.
But
You
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Yes,
so
sir.
it's cool to see people from all over, you know. And the one thing that was cool is I've got a WhatsApp group, that's primarily focused on Northern California, but there's a lot of SoCal in there as well, and people in there from around the country. So we have that nucleus of agents, and now we've got eyes and ears all over Northern California, because people are
Right.
attending events in the city in San Francisco, all the way down the peninsula, down into Santa Clara and San Jose. So we got eyes and ears. And so I had the group, hey, let's help each other out. Let's help, whether it's traffic related issues or
Yeah.
you
Networking,
got
man.
guys who
All
are
about it.
carrying, yeah, guys who are carrying concealed and they want to know, hey, is there security measures in place here, magnetometers, or
Right.
okay, do we know security people that are working there? Hey, give our guys some love and let them get through and walk through, even though they beep, just kind of give them the wink or let them walk around or back doors or
Right. The
so
whole
we're all
thing with
trying to,
weapons is a whole nother world.
yeah, 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 right. And so we're all trying to coordinate and help each other out because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team and trying to accomplish our mission. So there were several times where I knew somebody who was at a venue and we're going there, we're 15 minutes out, hey, okay, cool, they're just leaving, but they gave me a literally a 15-minute heads up of what it looks like right now because I didn't have an advance agent, which would always be nice, but it's not always practical or ideal.
Right. Right. Yeah, I tell you, just the logistics of weapons, carrying weapons, and traveling and going to different venues. I mean, I used to carry all the time, and now half the time I don't because it's just such a hassle going to a venue, and they'd freak out when you're like, "Hey, man, I got a weapon here. Hold on a second. You gotta." I mean, I went to a casino, I was at MGM in DC for a concert, and totally forgot I had it on me because I don't even feel it anymore. I just wear it for 30 years.
Right.
So I'm like, "Oh, shoot, I'm sorry, I have to." I said, the guy took me underground all the way down through these tunnels and some guy's office, and he put it in his safe. I'm like, "This is the way you do it? This is not." He go, "No, not many people come in here with weapons." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
that'll be the last time I'm coming in with a weapon." So yeah, and then most of the time I just leave them at home now because it's just too much of a hassle with going in
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the way to alleviate that is to do an advance and reach out to the
Yeah,
security
right.
that's in place. Sometimes it might be, actual law enforcement that's running the security venue there. What
Yeah, yeah,
is
you gotta
the
grease it ahead of
venue, the
time.
location? Yeah, and if we can iron that out ahead of time, for example, when I'm with my political figure that is in the planning, that is always something that's thrown out there right up front that yes, they do travel with armed security, private security. Last week, I'm doing an event in San Francisco. The California State Convention was happening. So I'm there with my clients. We're there with the former Speaker of the House, Speaker Pelosi. She still has Capitol Police. So we're going to the venue for her. And I already know there's going to be Capitol Police there. Luckily, I've gotten to know a lot of them. So I text them. I'm like, hey, bro, are you going to be at this event? Because I am. And they're like, no, I'm not, but so and so is. I'll put you in touch and wait and just
Yeah,
work that
yeah,
out. So that way now they know who
totally.
I am, vice versa, and then we can work together and collaborate and kind of smooth it out. Otherwise, from their perspective, they don't want anybody else to be armed, just them, right? And that's the
That's right.
typical government mentality. I get it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you
That's
know,
right. Oh, yeah, and, especially without going into too many politics, these people are all about taking guns away, but then except for the people that are guarding them, those people who want weapons, everybody else will take them.
yeah, no, I tell people that they're not anti 2A. They're just anti 2A. You,
Yeah,
they're
right.
very much pro,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I deal with DC, so there's a lot of all the politicians are there. It's constant teams going in and out of all the sorts of buildings and,
right?
Secret Service is everywhere there, so same thing. Same thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
back in, 20 what, November 23 or maybe 24, I forget now, during the APAC conference was in San Francisco. That
Yep.
was a huge event. I ran a team, a 14-person EP team. We worked hand in hand with Secret Service, and so where they had an agent, I had an agent, but yet their agent's armed and my agent's not,
It's
and it's
alright, I'll
just
just
kinda
stand
like
behind him.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, but
Yeah,
it's like
they're great to work with. I mean, it's a great agency. They've taken a lot of heat last couple of years, but yeah, they're still the best.
yeah, we won't talk about Butler then?
Yeah. Well, that's true. There's a lot of issues with that, a big security breach on that, no doubt. They'll tell you right away, whoever dropped the ball, somebody dropped the ball over there on that rooftop. Whether it's Secret Service or they handed it off to a local, say, "Hey, this is your roof. Take care of it." And they
Yeah,
didn't.
and I'm not aware of the after action that's come out after that. I know from the government perspective, they wanna keep it, on the down low and whatever.
Oh, lots of people have been
It
moved or
looks
fired.
bad. I'm sorry?
Lots of people have been moved and fired over that, for sure.
Yeah, so that happens, but is there a difference in protocol and practices and so forth,
Yeah, right, that's what needs to be changing, like,
Right.
give them the facilities and they're still under budget, like most federal agencies. They're all asking for more money every year, and they don't get it. So, that's another issue. You need training, you need people. You're
Right.
always gonna need more people, and you need more. I mean,
Yeah.
security today is just getting worse and worse. We need it more and more, so the businesses like ours are just, flourishing, unfortunately, because the threats are bigger.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, 100%. I know I have worked in conjunction with Secret Service, I'm not even sure how many times, numerous times. Every single time that they're the top. I mean, that they lead and they dictate, and whether it's, hey, you're private folks, we don't care that you're retired law enforcement, you're private now, you will not be armed, et cetera. And they dictate what's happening and what that looks like. So ultimately, at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong, you own it, right? Now,
Right.
like you said, did they give that zone, that building, et cetera, to a local agency to handle it? Yeah, I would assume 100% because they didn't have the staffing and the resources to do it, but then again, there's
Yep,
finger pointing and all that good stuff. So not sure how that worked out. But again, from my perspective, I'm always trying to assess and do after actions and okay, hey,
absolutely.
what went right and everything just went right because we're so amazing, or were we just not pressure tested? And
Mhm.
let's be honest, in CONUS in the continental United States, more times than not, we're just not pressure tested. So it can give us a false
Right.
sense of confidence that, yeah, we are amazing, tier one company, tier one agents, everybody's amazing, attaboys all around. I don't subscribe to that mentality. I don't think that sets us up for success moving forward. So, like I said earlier, I'm always looking for, hey, what did we do right? Why? What could we have done differently? Not necessarily was it wrong, but just differently, right? And I think a lot of
Right.
people look at things as just right or wrong, good or bad, but it's also differently. What could we have done differently? What could we have anticipated?
Improve, right?
I'll
Correct
tell you,
mistakes, be more efficient. I mean, a good debrief is always, important, especially, on the job. We always debriefed after any kind of operation, whether it's a surveillance or a warrant or
yeah,
any kind of buy bust in a parking lot, whatever it is, we're debriefing because we wanna know, how can we do it the best? How can we do it the safest? Yeah, the best operations when nothing happens. Because we were there and, but again, like, you don't wanna be complacent. So that's why we train. You gotta train and, for everything.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, nothing happened because we deterred it or just nothing happened, right? I
Right.
always think
Yep.
back to, I've attended several, courses through VDI and Joe Artura out there in, the East Coast, and Joe says that in his classes, "So, are you just, so amazing?" And his answer is always, "Perhaps," "Perhaps you're just that amazing, nothing happened, or just nothing
Right.
happened," right?
Well, half the time, just a physical presence is the deterrent. That's our job is to be the deterrent so nothing happens. When you're surrounded by 5 guys, with radios and weapons, most people are not gonna go near it. So, but
Yeah.
still, we gotta be
So,
trained for anything that would.
yeah, I mean, if you're from the public sector, there's only a handful of teams that are rolling around with that many people in the private sector.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it's usually 1 or 2 guys, right?
yeah, I mean, I would love to have a second guy all the time
Yours.
dedicated would be amazing. Right now with my political client, if I can have an advance agent, for example, to greet us and lay out the land and the floor plan and the different things that we look at and consider, that would be amazing. All last
Right.
year, I'm rolling around as one agent with this client, completely set up for failure, 100%, set up for failure. And I know that, but I like the challenge. I like being able to mitigate those risks as much as possible. And the fact that the client thinks he's an everyday Joe and he likes to walk around in public and go to lunch and dinner and stuff like no big deal is also awesome.
Right.
But he's immediately recognizable and he's very controversial. Half the country love him, half the country hate him. But he loves having that interaction with the public.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you need to, right? Being a public official,
Yeah.
you gotta talk to the public, whether you
I
like it or not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you really gotta be kinda sitting back there and watching body language and watching the facial
Right.
expressions and
Yeah.
hands, of course, and all that good stuff. So you really get to use a lot of tools on a regular basis. If they go up and they're doing for example, a rope line after an event, those people in that event are not vetted. They're not security screened. They could have anything on them. The
Yeah.
only thing that's separating them from your client is a rope stanchion. So you go work in the rope
Right.
line.
Which
Those
wouldn't stop
are
anything.
yeah, they're not gonna stop anything, but those are 20 to 30 minutes of really mental on point, watching the hands, watching the faces, watching the
Right.
expressions,
There's his
and then
constant
being
hands going into his face to give autographs or whatever.
yeah, yeah. I've had clients reach over and put an arm around their neck and pull them in for a kiss on the cheek, both male and females, onto the clients and to where they get that startle look, but when they're standing right there on them, it doesn't matter that you're standing within arm's reach of your protectee. It's gonna happen, but I see these videos where this happens and then, of course, the social media experts, that are, chiming in online and making their
Right.
comments and,
Yeah.
"Where was the
Just
protection
throwing stuff
detail,
at
and
him.
how they let that happen?" And it's like, "Okay, bro, you've never been in that position before, so you don't know
Right.
what you don't know."
A lot of these people, they only want two-man teams to cover them. One guy's a driver and the other guy is gonna be next to him or her at all times, and that's not one person.
Yeah.
So, there's a
Yeah.
lot of threats for one person to handle, which is, obviously not ideal. But if that's what the only thing they're gonna afford is a two-man team, and usually, a two-man team, at least the ones I've been on, I was always the driver, so I'm the local guy in DC, then the other one will fly in uh with the, protectee,
Yeah.
maybe a day early, and he'll do the advance on his own, and then when he arrives, I bring him in with the airport to meet up with him, and now he could take over and then we all go around 3 of us to wherever he needs to go.
Yeah. Sure.
But, obviously, the more the better for coverage and
Yeah,
risk.
that would be such a luxury, to even have a 4, 5-person team, especially for my political client. Oh my gosh, I would be in
Hey,
heaven. I wish I had the team numbers, that, Charlie Kirk had, as a private entity CEO of his company, where,
hey,
he would have, X amount on a regular basis, up to 12, 13 agents on a given assignment detail.
yeah, it's a challenge. So now going into the last section of our podcast, I talk about challenges of what's going on in your business. So what do you think the biggest challenge is in your business this year?
The challenge right now for me is I only want certain relationships to work with. I want to be very selective. So the challenge is on one hand, you got to make money because you got bills to pay.
Right.
The insurance monthly premium alone is pretty
Right.
substantial in
So
California.
you're going
And,
through
and
there.
then all the other back end stuff that you have to have. So I've got to make X a month minimum just to pay those expenses. So as work is coming at me, that work demand, they just want to staff the position. And that's, to me, in my opinion, a lot of the companies, they're not really security companies. They're staffing agencies. Company
Mhm.
A is coming in, whatever, they've got a client or they got an event or whatever the case is in California. They need a California licensed PPO to staff it and do it. Okay, hey, we need one body, four bodies, whatever the case may be. And their concern is just getting it staffed. That way they can invoice the client upstream and all that good stuff. Whereas on my end, especially when the request is a day out and they want this tomorrow. Well, the problem, and it's not a NorCal problem, it's a US of A problem in our entity, in our industry, qualified people to step into those roles and fulfill. So what I'm seeing, especially with the big companies, is they're promoting from the bottom up, but yet those people don't have the experience, they don't have the background, they don't have the training. One
Yeah.
day they were a guard force and they're in uniform, the next day they're wearing polos and they're residential security at an estate, or they're literally security drivers or even on body, um, doing close protection work. And some of the people I know who they are. I know their backgrounds, and I see them rolling around with a client or protectee, and I'm just like, wow, okay. So there is such demand in Northern California specifically. There is such demand that the talent pool, and I've been saying this for years, is really shallow. And so that's
Hmm.
where the training comes in. But the problem is, will the companies invest in their people to send them to a legitimate
Right.
training facility? Hopefully, one day it's me as I build up my training brand and the reputation and the name and so forth. But if you get out there and you send your people to Joe LaSorsa, I can mention him because I have been to his courses personally. I've attended several of them. Joe does an amazing job at training and getting the agents up to speed on what they need to do and have what kind of baseline they need to have on a regular basis. I won't mention
Right.
any others because I haven't taken those ones directly, and everybody gets kind of very tribal when it comes
Right.
to which company that they recommend and so forth. But I'm using Joe as an example of,
Of
if
course.
I had a client come to me and say, "Hey, we want to make sure everybody has been through a formal training course in the next 3 months, 6 months," boom, I'm sending,
Yeah.
I'm calling Joe, hey, and we're going to work that out. So that's a
Awesome.
huge.
Training's important. Training's important. What do you think about, what's your challenge in growing your business this year? Like, what kind of, do you do marketing? You do word of mouth, or is it just through
Yeah.
the network, or what?
So because I don't want to get too much demand and I don't want to be enticed by that carrot and all of a sudden I'm chasing that, it'll definitely be word of mouth. The people that I work with and have the relationships with and have done work across the country, they know I now have my PPO in California. So yeah, my hope is when they have the need that they'll reach out to me, or someone asks them and says, "Hey, I need a good driver or a good on body guy in California. Who do you use? Who do you recommend?" And then they recommend me as well. That's what I'm hoping for. I
Right.
want to be able to manage the growth. I don't want to be able to just throw a body in there because that's all that was available and that's all that you gave me. There's some details where you can get away with that, of course.
Yeah.
But
You just need a fresh body,
yeah,
personal presence. They're not going to interact with anybody. Just stand there.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, you won't need them.
There's those details where you can do that and get away with that. And, for me, I will not put anybody on body. And so we use the term, a lot of times people use the term executive protection. I'm an EP agent. And I think that's what they mean is by on body close protection, because you rarely hear the term close protection in our industry. But to me, close
Right.
protection as you're with the client, you're on body, you're facing them, you're speaking with them, you're moving with them and all that stuff. For me, I will not just reach out random into my group and, "Hey, who's available?" and then throw that person with that type of client or protectee. If I can't vouch for them directly, if I haven't worked with you, I don't know how you work. What do you think is EP and all this good stuff? Because back to the industry, the standards is just now in 2023, 4, 5, 6 is now being talked about, now being evaluated, now being set. And that's another kind of a topic between the industry
Right.
standard thing going on. But for me, I will not put just a warm body with a principal protectee so I can say, "Hey, I staffed it," and that way I can invoice it. If I can't put a person that I know and trust directly, I will not take it. I don't want to jeopardize my reputation that way. So I'll go
Yep.
back to that client or whoever reached out to me and I'll let them know, "Hey, I personally can't do it." Like tomorrow, I'm personally doing a favor for a friend in the industry, or I can't put someone that I can personally vouch for. So I
Yeah.
think
You
that'll
just
probably
need
be
bigger.
my biggest challenge, but that's just the way I decide, I'm going to operate. I came up with the name for the company, Covenant Protection Group, and covenant, the
I
word
love it.
that resonated with me because it's a bond, it's a promise. and I'll stand by that.
Yeah, your logo's awesome too. Like it, the Spartan
I
with the shield.
appreciate that.
Very nice.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. That the
Good
whole
stuff.
Spartan shield thing that comes from my training
Yeah.
company of Spartan Defense, of being a Spartan warrior, comes the mindset, the shield that represents, protection, the upright
Yep.
sword standing
Yep.
for always on guard.
Right.
So there's little things that have gone into the name, to the logo, etcetera, that all mean something. And so that is what I look to build as to for me in the industry, because
Great.
there's plenty of
Great.
staffing companies out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a balance, right? Because you obviously want better trained people. You want more better trained people, but you can't do more without having more clients to pay so you can invest, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, you want to grow, but you don't want to, we got to have the people to grow too.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you an example. That WhatsApp group I mentioned, I've got 340, 350 some agents in that group. With the training company, when I'll put out a training firearms date of whatever the course is, and I'll put it
Yeah.
out into that group. And in 10 years or so, not one agent has signed up on their own to come and attend a course to just keep up on their own skill set. So it's a kind of a matter of will they invest in themselves? But here's
Right.
the thing, going back to human nature, they don't need to because there's such demand and so many people are getting by simply based on what
Right.
their
They're
resume
getting hungry
stated.
either way.
Yeah, what their resume stated 5, 10, 15 years ago of what they did, but they haven't evolved from that. They haven't grown, whether it's in the medical world.
Yeah.
Couple 2 weeks ago, I sent myself to Las Vegas and attended a 2-day, what they call TMEP course, a
Yeah.
tactical
Nice.
medical for executive protection course. It was put
Nice.
on by Michael Marsh, did a great job. But that's people, I had people ask me, they're like, "Why are you doing that? You're already certified. You're TCCC certified, TEC certified. You've been through these courses." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but it's been a few years since I've taken one. So one, I need to keep up on my skill set. Two, I'm sure there's something new
Right.
that I'm going to learn from my last course I took 3 years ago. But I find it funny that if I go take a firearms training course, which even though I'm an instructor and I've been an instructor for 22 something years, my goal is to attend 2 firearm training courses a year. And I train with the top shooting instructors in the world. So
Nice.
I'll travel to them wherever they are. I dedicate that on my calendar, regardless of expense. And I'm looking to learn and do a 2, 3, 4 day course because that makes me a better instructor. It makes me a better student. It makes me
Totally.
a better
Totally.
protector, but I invest in myself. And that's the kind of one of the biggest things, the hurdles I see from the training world is the agents do it on themselves out of pocket. So I will try to make the tuitions, et cetera, to where they can do that. But if they're paying for a 1-day course, and let's say the course is $350, but it's also now they're not working, so they're not making their six, $700 a day that they would have made that day doing
Yeah.
their normal gig. So now it's an 11, $1,200 day to attend that course, right? But that's how we invest in ourselves. That's how we
Right.
better. If I can partner up with other companies that
That's
are
it.
out there who want to send their people at the company expense, of course, that gets transferred to the client. Is that what the client wants? Right.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to be disciplined, and yeah, I gotta love it because you always want to be better. Don't settle for just I went to training 5 years ago. I'm still good. You want to stay sharp. You want to be a professional. You want to be have some pride in your work. You're training, whether it's
Yep.
every week, every month, every year. You got to keep going. I've done training forever. 30 years in law enforcement, and I was in martial arts forever. So it's all about training. It's all about you can be, in jujitsu, you can train for 10 years, but then if you took 5 years off, you haven't been on the mat,
Oof.
it's not the same. That's a whole art where you got to be on the mat to get that physical touch because that's your skill. You
Yeah.
don't, you
Yeah.
don't have the skill sitting by yourself doing kata. You got to have hands on all the time. So,
Right.
the more training, the better, even in
Well,
security world. Totally.
yeah, and I mean, just last month, for example, I was training a company that uses me as their instructor for their emergency response team. Everybody on the team has some type of law enforcement background, right? But when at the end of the session, when we're asking for feedback and so forth, and one of the guys says, "Hey, I've been in law enforcement, retired now, 30-year career, now retired and now doing this stuff. I, in my 30 years, never did that." And I'm like,
Right.
wow.
That's
And
right.
to me,
Expand your circle.
Yeah, to me, it's just a very basic thing, but it's whatever it is, whether it's jujitsu, whether it's firearms training, whether it's the medical stuff, everything is evolving. And I've been saying for
That's right.
years,
It is evolving with the
a lot
tech
of
and
it,
the
yeah, a
people's
lot of it
knowledge.
evolved from 20 something years of pressure testing over in the sandbox with the GWAT.
That's right.
How were we
That's right.
applying tourniquets and what did we think about applying tourniquets in 2004 versus 2024? It's evolved because of things that we've learned and we've grown and so
Right.
forth.
Much more efficient now than we used to be,
Yeah,
know?
well, whether it's the techniques or the equipment that we're using, whatever it is, things continue
That's
to evolve. So to me, in my mind, my mindset, as long as you are a protector, and again, whether you're being a paid protector or you're the protector of your family and you're rolling around just with your CCW permit and a firearm and you don't have medical on you, you're hoping for the best day of your life, not preparing for the worst day of your life.
right. Totally. Absolutely. All right. So awesome. So that was awesome. That was really great. So now we talked about challenges. We talked about, so your marketing is really just word of mouth. You're not trying to do any ads
Yeah.
or any kind of social media, anything. Like, a lot of people doing that. A lot of people are, paying firms and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough to spread
Yeah.
the word and just get your business out there
Right.
just by word of mouth.
Yeah, well, 2 things. One, working for the company I'm working for as an agent, I'm working, for that family. That paycheck pays my bills. That's great. Anything I work and from the company perspective, that's gonna pay, of course, my company bills. I've yet to make money off of it, because right now I'm just doing the startup costs and the expenses of the insurance and all that good stuff.
What part with the training?
I'm sorry?
What part of the business you're talking about?
The security company.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
so just trying to grow that business is totally separate, right, than doing the family, account.
yes, yeah, yeah, 100%. So once I get some request where when they come to me and using me as my company with the client and so forth, that's where it'll really help. Or another company outside of California has a client, but they need services in California on a regular basis, then that's where we can partner up together. Essentially, I would be the subcontractor. So that type of work, and it starts slow. One of my buddies in the company, he's been operating now for about 5, 6 years, very well known in the industry, very well respected, and he's just now, really starting to go. So he's kind of my motivation, and he is awesome. He's been helping me a lot.
Great.
I'll mention him. Wayne DeCoste out at with the Rescore Group. Wayne's been amazing, great company to work for. So people like that is who we need in the industry. And like I said, he's been telling me, he's like, hey, it's going to take some time, so you got to weather the storms and just
Right.
grind. And one thing about me is nobody will work harder than me. Nobody will outwork me. So, and like I told my
Right.
wife, I'll always bet on me. Period. So I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. That's one person you can count on is, ourselves. Awesome. All right, well, that's great. So tell our audience where we can find you and your companies.
Yeah. So for the overall for the security services and training, everything's now under Covenant Protection Group. We have our website, covenantprotectiongroup.com. That's where you can get all of our
Beautiful.
contact information and our services that we are offering.
Okay, awesome. You got any other social media going on?
Still in the process of starting up. I was just talking to my assistant this morning actually about that. We will be developing our Instagram page, TikTok page,
I know, it's a
YouTube,
totally different world today, huh?
all that good stuff. So she's going to be handling that for me because I only have so much bandwidth and
I know, right? There's the whole world of social media is like, just get somebody to handle it for you, to be the manager and have them do these postings and videos and whatever.
yeah,
It's never ending.
yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right, sir. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. That was amazing world of executive protection. A lot of different issues. That was really educational. I'm sure everyone would really learn a lot from that.
Awesome. Matt, I really appreciate you reaching out. I appreciate the conversations we've been having back and forth, and I'm glad I was finally able to sit down and make this happen for us.
You're a busy man, man. You're a hard man to get a hold of, but finally you had a little spot for me and slid me in there. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
All right, sir. Thanks. Take care.